With the end of the decade quickly approaching, the music world was presented with a somewhat surprise announcement that international mega-hit churning band Coldplay would be releasing a double album titled Everyday Life. This is the latest full release since 2015's A Head Full of Dreams and marks the band's 8th studio release.
This isn't rock. Coldplay doesn't count as rock. What's this doing on a rock channel? Blah, blah, blah. I'm angry, so I put all my hate in YouTube comments.
Yeah, I know that's how some of you sound right now when you saw a Coldplay review in this channel. I still count this on the alternative side of music, so yeah, I'm gonna cover it. Back in the early 2000s, I was listening to a range of music from High on Fire and OTEP, before she got all crazy, all the way to Coldplay. I have been a fan since I received a rush of blood to the head as a Christmas present in 2002, causing me to go out shortly after to get the previous album Parachutes. I've been following Chris Martin and company for years now. And while the music they made in the 2000s is legendary, I can admit that the music in this decade has left most people wanting. While there were flashes of interesting music in something like Ghost Stories, I admit my interest in A Head Full of Dreams has waned greatly and was mostly forgotten about after a month of hearing it. On top of that, Mylo Xyloto was my least favorite from the band, and it really didn't offer much. It's been many years since the glory days of Viva la Vida, side note, that's one of my all-time favorite albums, and now that a decade has passed since that time, many Coldplay fans keep getting their hopes up that the next Coldplay album will capture that magic again and give us something that transcends genres, becoming permanently memorable and a part of music culture. Enter Everyday Life, a double album where each album is under 30 minutes that dabbles in a lot of experimentation and covers a lot of cultural music both throughout the world and through decades past of different genres. Coldplay is all over the place with this one, but there's a lot of intention here, and you get why once you listen. I'll be bouncing around the track list as I explain it, but the band debuted the true title track, Everyday Life, the song, on SNL, and it's one of the two big standouts. The stretched single guitar chords and string section flow beautifully, and Chris Martin sounds great here. This is a song that could belong in the 2000s era Coldplay, or the golden age of Coldplay, really. It's peaceful, it's well presented, and it works. The other big standout was debuted on the radio in the UK, Arabesque. This song was that advertised experimentation with great rhythm guitar and fantastic horn section which steals the show. Arabesque was that breath of fresh air that I think alternative and pop rock and longtime Coldplay fans may not have expected, but are definitely satisfied with. Another song that was debuted early and a decent track from Everyday Life is Orphans, and it's not as strong as the title track or Arabesque, but it still works. It has a great bass line, it includes a children's chorus, including Martin's children, and the song is about empathy, and one thing I can honestly say about the music in Everyday Life is that there is a genuine feeling of sincerity behind it. Those three songs were the highlights on Everyday Life. The rest of the music... The first album, Sunrise, opens with a nice 2.5-minute string composition. It's pleasant, but nothing to write home about. The following track, Church, comes in and has a nice sound with the female vocals in the background, but Martin is barely above a whisper on this track, and the acoustic work is fine, but man, I wish they could have stood out more here. This song should be something better. Trouble in Town is a slow, bassy track for 2.5 minutes, which then leads to a cop and victim situation to add to the Everyday Life theme, and then the music picks up a little, and then it's over. It's interesting to hear once, and the actual music in the second half works well, but man, it's hard to describe after that. And it's in that little inclusion in Trouble in Town where the real identity and source of problems for Everyday Life comes in. It's a mishmash of Coldplay songs that really don't go anywhere in the end. Broken has that southern soul style with simple piano notes and not much else to talk about. Unexpected to say the least, but not worth hearing again. Replay value is kinda low for a lot of songs here. Daddy is a somber piano track that has a lullaby feeling. Hearing Daddy Are You There and Please Stay will probably hit home for many people. There are moments to take in from the lyric lines and peaceful moments throughout this double album, and there are many inclusions of random people from different cultures and adding snippets to this album as well. It really is a multicultural experience. When you listen to Everyday Life all the way through, you realize there's not that much to talk about or really go back to and replay. And unfortunately, that's been the case for most of Coldplay's music for this past decade. Jumping into Sunset, we get topical with guns and how the world really relies on ammunition to solve problems. It's a fast guitar strum and Martin sounds more energetic. It's good to look at the play on words and what Martin is saying, but admittedly, as the music goes, it doesn't do much. Fast acoustic guitar strums and Martin's play on gun problems. It's short, to the point,
and it's over way too fast. Echo, whatever, I'm terrible with pronunciation, has more of an acoustic work as well, and this album really relies on that. The acoustic guitars are all over the place, run fast, slow, you name it. They have children playing in the background on this track also, and it's a pleasant enough, I guess, but not much to play a second time. This is an hour album where background noise is one of the most prominent features. Cry 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 has a 50s vibe to it with the background vocals and delivery, and it's not terrible outside of the shrill Cry 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 part in the vocals, but these songs are short and don't pack a punch, and I think that hurts everything. Old Friends is a little quicker, but the over-reliance on acoustic guitar plucks and strums in this album makes Old Friends like every other track on the album almost. For a band with several multi-instrumentalists, they sure aren't branching out with many of the instrument talents here. Baniata, again sorry about pronunciations if I'm botching that, starts off with a piano ballad and turns into a soft dance beat and drum machines, and at least it's something different for the double album, I guess. There are several longer interlude-style tracks as well, including the chanting track When I Need a Friend, and Wonder of the World, Power of the People, which adds nothing outside of saying the title to make a catchphrase. Champion of the World finally breathes some life back into Sunset, which feels like a full band production. This is something I would have wanted as a non-singles track. It's simple phrases about trying my best with a great rhythm and build to volume halfway through. Martin was so reserved in most of this album when we know his voice can soar. It helps also that Champion of the World ends the double album preceding the title track, so everything ends on a positive note.
I don't know which half of Everyday Life I prefer more because each half has high points, but both Sunrise and Sunset have filler and just background noise and so much of nothing. It's just there. And that kind of sucks because you can tell Coldplay put effort into this.
Coldplay went to many places around the world for inspiration, as well as paying attention to serious socio-political issues, and to them, this is what everyday life sounds like. That is a fantastic concept and idea for an album on paper. Through execution, it's barely anything to get excited about after you're done listening. I can't stress enough that the topics being sang about and the lyrics all have some weight here, discussing climate change, gun control, religion, race, you name it, but it all just blends together with several songs sounding identical. The band has moments of getting experimental with different cultural styles and going back to decades past with their music. There are hits here with the title track, Arabesque, Orphans, and Champion of the World to be fair, but over half of the music, while not bad, is completely forgettable, and sometimes sleep-inducing.
My least favorite Coldplay album is Mylo Xyloto, and this is on par with Mylo Xyloto. It kind of sucks because you can tell Coldplay really tried to think outside of the box, and it shows in many different areas how they tried to stretch themselves and do something different, and it only makes you realize this should have been so much better. This was a good idea, and it just didn't pan out.
Overall, Everyday Life is a glimpse at how Coldplay sees the world. The band has adventures and experiences to back up their reasoning, and it's all behind music that, while well played, doesn't exactly spark much interest or excitement. There are a few songs definitely worth hearing, but as the decade is ending, so is another album from Coldplay that, while not terrible, doesn't quite live up to the previous decade's legacy. So what did you think about Everyday Life? Leave a comment and let everyone know. Big thanks to my patrons and a special thanks to Brandon Barenfeld. You can also support Rot and help us have a say in upcoming videos like album reviews, regretting the past, top 10s, and things like that by supporting Rot on Patreon. You can find more info in the link in the description and YouTube card. Please subscribe, you can check out my concert photography on Instagram, and you can keep up to date with Rot on Facebook and Twitter.